Hello and welcome to today's office hours presentation. This is Paul Hoyt welcoming you to this Monday, June the 8th, 2015 office hours presentation. Our office hours presentation are a relaxed, informal mentoring program that we do every Monday at noon Pacific time. All these recordings and the slides that we have from the presentations are archived in the members area of our website, and all these recordings are available on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/user/Paul Hoyt. The reasons I do this is because I know that being a successful entrepreneur can be a great experience, but I know that it's tough. You need education, training, tools, and team in order to be successful. And I do want you to get to know me, because when you get to know me, you'll know that first and most importantly, I really do care about you. I want you to succeed in every area of your life, whatever that means to you. I want you to find the greatness, the happiness, and the divinity within yourself, and then remember it, embrace it, and live it every single day as I do. My passion is to increase the success rate, accelerate the growth rate, and reduce the struggle rate of businesses in America. My vision is to help millions of CEOs and entrepreneurs accelerate their business growth and enjoy greater harmony and balance in their lives. You can help by passing the word. If you find these office hours presentations valuable to you, then there's a bunch of them out there that CEOs, entrepreneurs, small business owners can take advantage of. Next time you talk to a friend who's struggling or ask you a question about business in any way, you might just pass along the information of, hey, have you seen Paul Hoyt's Office Hours series? Because there's a whole bunch of stuff there that they can find that will be of value to them. Our agenda is typically an in-depth discussion of business success principle. Then I offer some closing remarks and special offers and an invitation for next week's session. Today is all about questions and answers and coaching. With live group coaching, we invite you to put in your questions. Be thinking about questions or discussion topics that you'd like for me to address today. You can type those into the chat log, and we'll get right on it and maybe even take you off mute and let you talk for a little bit. During the course of the conversation today, I encourage you to join us. First, the Brilliant Business Group on both Facebook and LinkedIn. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/groups Brilliant Business. And for the LinkedIn Brilliant Business Group, it's bit.ly/Brilliant Business Group. Just as a quick heads up, we're going to be changing the Brilliant Business Group on both Facebook and LinkedIn to be the Awaken CEO community on both of those platforms here pretty quick. We'll make that transition over the next couple of months or so. But during today's call, you can join us online at the Brilliant Business Group. When you join us, you can get the Business Success Principle of the Day postings on both Facebook and LinkedIn that I do 4 nights a week, and the Energy of the Day posting that I do on Facebook that I do every single morning when I get up. It's part of my daily practice to create a message for the energy of the day and then post it on Facebook, and also as a blog entry on my website. I think we are up to day 562 now. And here's what I was going to say. During the call, you can make comments, ask questions, share insights and takeaways in the Brilliant Business Group on Facebook. And our goal is to have 20 comments and likes in the Facebook group itself. I also want to invite you to an Awaken CEO Conversation, which is a new webinar series that I began some number of weeks ago, about 2 or 3 months ago. It's an interactive webinar this Wednesday, June the 10th at 6 p.m. Pacific time. We're going to have another Awaken Conversation with special guest Beatrice Bruno, who you're going to love. She is a former Army drill sergeant, or as she calls it, once a drill sergeant, always a drill sergeant, and really a great coach for those of you who need a really tough feminine influence in your life. She can be a fantastic person. We're going to talk to her about a little bit about her business and a whole bunch about her personal spiritual journey as well. You can watch your emails for sign-up information. And once you sign up for one of our Awaken Conversations, you're automatically signed up for the rest of the conversations until you say no thank you anymore. Today's topic is on open questions and answers and group coaching, which I invite you to participate in. As always, we try to relate the subject matter of the day to one or more of the key performance areas. And of course, with live group coaching, we are open to anything and everything. You can ask questions about marketing, about sales, about financial management, about leadership, about delivery, about any of the different functional areas or key performance areas of business. And we also try to relate this to the Awaken CEO system, where we focus on mindset, methods, and momentum. And again, like with the key performance areas here in today's conversation, you can ask questions about mindset, you can ask questions about methods, process, procedures, and plans, and you can ask questions about how to develop and maintain and accelerate the momentum in your business. As a quick reminder, the 3 previous office hours presentations that we did were Office Hours 76, where we talked about crowdfunding, Office Hours 77, we talked about the Startup Owner's Manual, and Office Hours 78, 2 weeks ago today, we talked about cybernetics and the power of self-image. In the crowdfunding office hours, we talked about donation-based crowdfunding, rewards or perk-based crowdfunding. We talked about equity crowdfunding, the Reg A and Reg A Plus public offerings, traditional IPOs, and intrastate but direct public offerings. So if you want to know more about Kickstarter, Indiegogo, GoFundMe, or any of the other popular crowdfunding campaigns or programs out there, and the new equity-based crowdfunding systems, then by all means, I would encourage you to listen to the recording of Office Hours number 76 on crowdfunding. Office Hours number 77 was on the Startup Owner's Manual. We talked about the owners, Bob Dorff and Steve Blank, and their long history of working together. We talked about what is a startup, the traditional new product model versus the Startup Owner's Manual iterative model that they have. Talked about 9 deadly sins and their customer development manifesto, summed it all up with a bottom line. So if you are a startup business, this is essentially the implementation model for the Lean Startup methodology. I think it was Office Hours number 17 that we did on the Lean Startup methodology. So it was time for us to do another one, a year and a half later with the Startup Owner's Manual, which I find extremely valuable. And where I live and work in Silicon Valley, it's the way we start businesses here. So some of the best minds on the planet have come up with the Lean Startup methodology and the Startup Owner's Manual. And if you're starting up a business, especially if it is an innovative business, if you're bringing a new product or service to market, I encourage you to watch the Office Hours episode on Startup Owner's Manual. And 2 weeks ago today, we talked about cybernetics, the great book written in 1960 by Dr. Maxwell Maltz, where we talked about the fundamentals of cybernetics and the power of self-image. One of the remarkable things about that book on cybernetics is the word self-image. The concept of self-image really didn't even exist in our planet until he coined the term and began to explain it and talked about the power of self-image in his book in cybernetics. So I think is a fantastic book. I remember reading it back when I was studying psychology in college, 40 years ago, and it's still a tremendous, tremendous book. So I encourage you to read the book, listen to the Office Hours presentation. And with that kind of reminder of the last 3 Office Hours presentations that we did, I'm just going to open it up to questions and answers now. So if you are a live attendee on the call, you're welcome to hold up your hand. You can type a question into the chat log. If you're willing to ask a question, we can take you off of mute and you can talk to the rest of the crowd that we'd really like to, which we'd love to do. And I think I see Stephanie. I'm not sure if Marilyn has her hand up or not. I see a little bit of an indicator, but perhaps not. So if you are there, Marilyn, I invite you to type something into our chat log and let us know whether or not you would like for us to take you off mute and answer a question that you might have or address a particular topic. We did have, by the way, a couple of questions come in via email. And I really love for the questions to come in via email because that gives me a chance to think about them just a little bit. I think you're going to get just a little better answer if it comes in through email and I have 5 minutes or 10 minutes to think about it rather than just answering the question or addressing the topic off the top of my mind or off the top of my head. So we did have a couple of them come in by an anonymous person. And the reason that we're keeping it, well, they're not anonymous to me, but I'm going to make them anonymous to you. And I think you'll see why when we talk about the nature of the questions itself. Stephanie, do you have those 2 questions that came in via email that you might share with us?
I sure do. Let's go ahead and get started with the first
Okay.
one. How do you get rid of a shareholder that is nothing but trouble, not willing to sell, and murder is out? Non-accredited investors that may seem safe and supportive in the beginning, but for some reason, the rest.
Yeah, well, hang on. I think that second one is a second question. The first one is really on how do you get rid of an investor, and that's really really tough to do. So I want to talk about that in a couple of different ways. Number one is the best way to get rid of an investor who's unfriendly and high maintenance and just a pill to deal with is to avoid him in the first place. Um, and that means using your intuition, your inner guidance when it comes to accepting somebody's money. Some of the hardest things to do are turning down bad money, especially when you need money. But if you get that feeling that this is going to be a bad situation, you have to turn down that money or turn down that client. I know that my antenna have been refined over the years from having experiences with people who I hesitated to start to do business with, and it just because I had this sense that it might not turn out well. Um, Pretty much today I don't have that problem anymore, but there were a couple of times in the early days of my business where I really wanted the money and I took a deal that I knew that I shouldn't have taken. The same is true about taking an investor's money. So the first rule about how to get rid of a bad investor, someone who's really high maintenance and causing you a lot of problems, is don't engage in the agreement in the first darn place. Just walk away, even though it's painful to walk away. But once they're into your life, whether it be a customer or whether it be an investor, to get rid of them can be particularly challenging. I think the first thing to realize is what is it that they're really looking for? And in most cases, what they're really looking for is they want to win. They just want to win. They're trying to be a pill, and it may not be about the money. It may be just about feeling like a winner for themselves. Some people like to get into arguments because they like to win. They like to be abusive because they like to win. It's a very empowering thing for them. And so in order to get them out of your life, you kind of have to let them win in some way. It's rare that you can exercise your muscle and take legal action or threaten legal action and have them back off, which is definitely a possibility. I've seen clients do that before. But sometimes the best thing to do is just have a facilitated, mediated conversation, maybe even an arbitrated agreement with them to try to figure out how to get them out of your life in some way. Unfortunately, 1%, 2% of the people out there are genuinely crazy, and some of them are not only crazy, but they're mean and crazy, and because of whatever's going on in their life, and they just, they need to feel better about themselves by putting other people down, by being a pain in the keister, and by winning in some way. And sometimes it's really worth your money and worth your time just to suggest to them that they might do a settlement. So if you can have those conversations yourself, that works. Otherwise, there are some really great people out there who can help with those facilitated conversations and be a mediation expert. I know some mediation experts. It's been my privilege to engage in conflict resolution conversations with people from time to time to help them understand each other's position and help them look for common ground and find an agreement and a way to resolve the issues that they have. So, if you can't figure it out for yourself and it's not working for yourself, I guess my number one piece of advice when it comes to that is offer a facilitated, mediated, or arbitrated structured agreement to get them out of your life, to make it win for them and make it win for you. And Stephanie, what was I think the second question that she asked there?
What if your first and second raise doesn't produce revenue to sustain the business, and another development appears and you have no equity left?
That's a very, very tough question. When you say you have no equity left, that you always have some equity left. You can sell your own shares. You can dilute everybody's interest in the company by having the board of directors authorize another round of funding, even if it happens to be a down round. So the concept of a down round means that we used to sell our shares for $2 a share, but now we have to sell them for $1 a share because the company is worth less than it was before because things just didn't work out. Investors really hate down rounds and founders really hate down rounds. But sometimes a down round to pull in additional money to make the company grow or to allow the company grow can be the best thing. So if I bought shares at $2 a share and I have $100,000 worth of stock in your company, I put it $100,000. I bought 50,000 shares at $2 a share. And now you do the next round and you're selling stock at $1 a share. That means my $100,000 investment is now only worth $50,000 on paper. But having a $50,000 valuation on paper may be a heck of a lot better than having, a $0 valuation on paper if the company goes bankrupt. And maybe that $50,000 valuation will grow over time to where it's worth $100,000 or $150,000 or $200,000. I can actually get a positive return on my investment instead of being just grateful for escaping with some of the capital that I put into the venture. So having a down round is always a possibility. And just even if you don't have a down round, selling more shares that dilutes the current ownership interest of the investors is also always a possibility. So the other thing that I would suggest is that you really understand where you are in business. I did Office Hours 66. Was on the classes of business. And this is a great example, by the way, of when you submit a question via email, it gives me a chance to look things up. I looked that up this morning in preparation for this call. This 5 classes of business that we talked about in Office Hours 66 were the startup business or startup class, steady growth, rapid expansion, turnaround, and exit. The reason I brought that up is because if you've extended a lot of equity, sold a lot of equity, and things just aren't working out well and you're out of money, you may really be in turnaround mode. And in turnaround mode, that means that you shut down locations if you have additional locations, that you reduce your product line, the service offerings and the product offerings that you have to get back to your core profitable business. You may need to let go of employees. You need to shut down marketing programs. You have to do everything that you can to allow the business to survive. So with that question, I had this sense that the business, even though they're in startup mode, they may also be in turnaround mode. That you maybe started out too big or too bold, and it's time to refocus all of your marketing and product development activities on a smaller product line, on a more narrow market niche, in order to get the company into profitability or return it to profitability. As I oftentimes say, the very first thing that we want you to do is engage with the marketplace as quickly as possible to learn the lessons that only the marketplace can teach you. And then after you have done that, have a relentless pursuit of financial stability. And that relentless pursuit of financial stability means that you're making some tough choices. And if you are profitable or have been profitable in the past, that means that you're in turnaround mode. And I encourage you to watch Office Hours 66 and hear the comments that we talk about turnaround mode there, so that you may find some ideas that are helpful for you in that particular circumstance. Thanks so much to the longtime friend and lady who sent in those questions. I really do appreciate it. I hope that you're able to rid yourself of that unruly, unwanted, unwelcome investor through making them an offer that allows them to be a winner in some way, and perhaps through a mediated or facilitated conversation. And I hope that you're able to take the business opportunity that you were referring to and use the concept and principles of being in turnaround mode to turn that business around and return it to profitability. So thanks again. I really do appreciate those questions. Stephanie, do we have other questions?
Yeah, let's take one of the live ones. Marcel, you there? You got your hand up here.
Hey guys, it's Marcel here, and I do have a question. It's a 3-part question for Paul.
Okay.
So, regarding the transition from sales to delivery, what does a good onboarding process look like? Is there a checklist you could use or that you guys use for your coaching clients? And then any advice in general for not letting people fall through the cracks?
Let's take those one at a time. So the first question was, how do you do the transition from sales to delivery, and about an onboarding process, right? And I think question number 2 was kind of like that. Is there a checklist that we use in that process? So first of all, great question and great recognition that you really want to get every customer started off right with an onboarding process which is really cool. And by the way, that's whether it's a customer or an employee or a contractor. The military, the U.S. military, has their own onboarding process they call boot camp. And boot camp is designed to get you in physical shape and shift your mindset to operating in the military way. Most great companies have an onboarding process that they use that for their employees that involves new employee orientation and training programs associated with that. And we can use the concepts and principles of the new employee orientation when it comes to getting our customers and our clients engaged with our business. What works for many coaches is to have an intake session. So in the first session that you're working with your clients, I've had some coaches that had a day-long in-person intake session as part of their process. I've had other coaches use a 2 or 3 hour first session to where they ask a lot of questions about background and history and get people engaged before they begin their normal coaching process, having an intake session. And here at the Hoyt Management Group, we have our own intake process, which usually the first session or first engagement we have with clients is in going through a business clarity questionnaire. We have a couple of versions. We have the light version of a business clarity questionnaire and the complete version of a business clarity questionnaire, where we talk about a lot of things and really go through your business from top to bottom, understanding what your vision is, what products and services you're bringing to market, the market that you want to serve, the value proposition that you have, what progress that you've had, what alliances and partnerships you have in place, the team that you have in place, the challenges, blocks, and obstacles that you may see for yourself, etc. So I think the question is really good. No matter who you are, when you're beginning a new relationship with somebody, whether it be a personal relationship or an employee or a contractor relationship or a client relationship in any way, I think it's a really good idea to have that first session or two, or in the case of an employee, it could be those first several weeks of engagement, be focused around a proven onboarding process where we get somebody oriented to the processes that we are going to use and the language that we are going to use so that they can become familiar with the company and be more comfortable with the company, and we can really know the things that we want to know and learn the things that we want to learn in order to bring them on board. Just by the way, a real quick item is that, if the onboarding process doesn't go well, if you get a few hours into the conversation or a few weeks into the employment or contract and it doesn't go well, then it's time to make an exit from that. As I like to say, and many people say, it's really good idea to hire slow and fire fast. And that comes with, I think, clients as well. I prefer, by the way, a fairly slow engagement process. I want you to get to know me. That's why we have these free programs that are available to people who sign up for our systems. The 5 Choices of Winning CEOs, the Business Survival Boot Camp. I encourage you to watch an office hour session or two. I encourage you to listen to an Awaken conversation or two so you get to know me and know what we stand for and the way in which we can support you, so that the intake process is somewhat less, so we're able to return values very, very quickly, and that it goes a lot smoother. And I have to say that, as a result of having this sort of gentle, a freemium model that allows you to experience who I am and what we do and the knowledge and skills that we bring to our customers and clients for free for a little bit before you begin to engage it, has caused us to have, I think, a 100% success rate with our clients for many, many years. And that's what we want with everybody too. Hopefully those answered the first 2 questions as well. Do you have any follow-up on that before we move to question number 3, Marcel?
Nope, that's pretty good. Question 3 was any advice for not letting people fall through the cracks from a lead generation sales standpoint?
From a lead managing leads and managing your pipeline is an interesting process. The very first thing that I would suggest is make sure you're keeping track of them. You might have a CRM system like Infusionsoft or some other system that allows you to identify prospects and allows you to identify people in particular classes of business so that you can pull out reports on them. At our business, we do a combination of a back-end system in our particular case, Infusionsoft. And I use a lot of spreadsheets. So I was at a CEO Space conference last week, my 54th week-long CEO Space conference. I haven't gone to the week for all of those, but 90% of them I have. And so we came back and have 40 or 50 people that I met that I had never met before, and we want to keep track of those. So we enter all of their contact information into a spreadsheet. I prioritize them into a Class A, Class B, and Class C prospects, with the Class A prospects being the ones that I think are most likely to do business with me, and the ones that I think may have the largest lifetime value of a customer. So we'll follow up with those people first, but we'll make sure to follow up with everybody, not only the A's, but the B's and the C's too, and make sure that we get them into our drip marketing, nurture marketing system that we use, so that we can keep at their top of their mind until they're ready to engage our services in whatever way they choose to do that. So having a system, having methods is a classic way of doing that. And if I can go back to the mindset, methods, and momentum approach of the Awaken CEO system, first thing is to have the mindset to know that we want to keep track of people and that we want to implement methods in order to do that. Second thing is to have the methods in place, the spreadsheets, the back-end system that allow us to keep track of our prospects, and a system in place that says, every day, every 2 days, every Monday morning, I'm going to review my pipeline of prospects and make sure that I am addressing them and following up with them in the way that I want to. And then you establish momentum with that. You get in the game and make the calls, send out the emails, engage with the prospects steadily to move them through your sales process and hopefully to convert them and turn them into customers. And by the way, I'm not sure if you intended this or not, but I definitely want to also ask or talk about making sure that the customers don't fall through the cracks as well. So whenever we engage with people, and we're fortunate enough to where we have a conversion and they begin a relationship with us, a paid relationship in some way, it's equally important, and I would say even far more important, maybe 10 times as important, to keep track of your current customers and make sure you're serving them in the way that you should be serving them or could be serving them too. Because your current customers are your best advocates or your worst enemies. You absolutely want to make sure that they're getting a great value out of the agreement that you've got, the engagement that you've got, so that they will speak well of you in the future and buy other things from you as well. Because lifetime value of a customer is really, really important. It's far easier to do an upsell or a cross-sell with an existing client than it is to go out and find a new client. So we keep track of our prospects and we keep track of our customers, and we diligently look at the list every single day or every single week, whatever works for you, to make sure that neither the customers nor the prospects are slipping through the cracks. Marcel, was that helpful?
That was wonderful. Thank you so much, Paul. I've got some work to do.
Well, we all do. I mean, as it turns out, by the way, I'll segue just a little bit, is that most entrepreneurs have a challenge with implementation. They have a challenge with doing the work. They have a tendency to be very bold and creative work. We jump into business because we want to be in control and because we want to do our own thing, not necessarily because we really want to diligently focus on the details of the business hour by hour by hour. So it is a very, very common thing for a CEO or an entrepreneur to be challenged when it comes with the details, with the discipline and the diligence. And that's why we hire people. That's why we bring on partners who may be less entrepreneurially focused in their own mindset, that they really love to do the work. They love to take this list of things to do and just check it off one after the other. So it may be that you can get somebody on your team who has that mindset for whoever's listening to the call. Or it doesn't have to be a full-time position. It can just be, an hour or two every now and then to help you stay focused and to help you make great decisions about how you invest your time on a day-to-day basis. So thanks again for the question. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Stephanie, do we have other questions? Or Marcel, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, here's some more questions. I'm in a state of overwhelm and I have very little money. I seem to start projects and not complete them. What can I do?
I think the first thing that I would encourage you to do is to realize that this is a temporary place. You know, you're probably not in a perpetual state of overwhelm or in a perpetual dark place, but for most humans, the shadows come and go. You know, we may find ourselves in the pit of darkness from time to time. We may find ourselves having a lot of victim energy or prisoner energy, feeling trapped and feeling like we're powerless in some way. But the first thing to remember is that that's not a permanent place. It can be a very uncomfortable place and a place we want to escape from just as quickly as possible. And we can do that. We always have the power to shift our energy. So first thing to do is to, lighten the mood just a little bit. Take a break, have a glass of water, play a song, do a little dance, do something to shift your energy so you can come about the answering the question of what do I do next from a little higher place. Because if we answer that question from the pit of darkness, it's oftentimes the answer is not, I don't think, nearly as valuable as when we answer it from a place that's a little bit higher. Because you do have a lot of power. You do have the capability to make great decisions. You do have the capability to adjust your daily activities or your hourly activities. You do have the capability to develop new habits, to gain new skill sets, to bring yourself along, to improve your mindset, to improve your methods so that you can accelerate the momentum within your business. And that's step number one, is get yourself in a little more positive mindset. Step number two is taking something that you know would be valuable to your business today and just doing it, making an accomplishment. The law of little steps says that there's no task that is so huge that we can't make progress on it. And oftentimes, if we take a really big task and separate it into a whole bunch of little tasks and just focus on taking that next step, it really accelerates our vibration, really helps our vibration, helps our mood, and gives us a sense of accomplishments and a sense of completion. Completions are really, really important. Sometimes it takes a conversation with a friend or a coach to help us figure out what that next step might be. But my encouragement to you is, once you have determined what an appropriate next step might be, to take everything else that you could be doing and put it on the side and put it in the parking lot, take it and put it completely out of your mind, and just focus on doing this next little task and doing it very well to the best of your ability and as quickly as possible, and give yourself the opportunity to have a feeling of accomplishment and completion when that's done. And when that's done, take a breath, have a glass of water, get up, walk around the room, listen to a song, shift your energy again, and then come back and do the same thing again. Take another little task, a 5-minute task, a 10-minute task, a 15-minute task, and go for it and get the job done so you can have another sense of accomplishment and a completion. And then do it again, and then do it again. That's what taking little steps is all about. Pretty soon, you will shift your way out of this weakness and prisoner energy that you have, the victim and prisoner energy, and back into being a little more of a warrior. And then once we've been an angry warrior or a serious warrior, we can elevate our mood even more, and we can become a joyful creator and come back into that lighthearted place where we know that we can do a tremendous amount with the time and the energy that we have, and get ourselves back to the point of feeling like we can accomplish anything. Because when you shift your mood and you shift your mindset, you will attract and manifest things into your life in ways that you can never possibly do when you're caught up in the pit of darkness. I like the law of little steps. We're just going to take one step out of the shadows at a time until we get ourselves completely back into the light and completely back into that place where we're feeling confident and proud and capable and have a very positive self-image and a high sense of self-worth. And it's a wonderful, wonderful place to be. Getting somebody to remind you about how strong you are and how capable you are every once in a while is a very, very good thing. That's why we go listen to motivational speakers and inspirational speakers, and there's a whole bunch of them out there. You might, by the way, I encourage you to listen to one of our Awaken CEO Conversations too, which I think deliver very powerful motivational and inspirational messages, along with the hundreds of other great motivational messages that you can find online. If you choose to be inspired, you can find lots and lots of ways to be inspired. And I hope that that's a choice that you make from your state of, being overwhelmed and not knowing exactly what to do next. Hopefully that's helpful. I'm going to take just a second and talk a little bit, since we're about halfway through the program, or a little more here. I want to talk a little bit about what we do here at the Hoyt Management Group before we answer the next questions. So allow me like a 1-minute brief commercial message from your sponsor here. Our distinctions with the Awaken CEO system is that we focus on the whole system. We want you to get the support you want, that you need, and you can use and you can afford. That's why we have a very broad portfolio of product offerings, so that you can get the support that you need right now today to take that next step in your business. Our support services include opportunities where we teach you to do things for yourself with our office hours series and our information products. In some cases, we do it with you with our collaborative programs that we have for writing business plans and financial models, our coaching, advising, and mentoring programs. And sometimes we will do it with you. If the job is right, you're welcome to craft an agreement where you simply throw it over the wall and we do it for you and get it back to you. I encourage you to learn more about us and the system that we have by engaging in an Awaken CEO Conversation. As we mentioned earlier, the Awaken CEO Conversations is where we focus mostly on mindsets and this journey of life and how it interrelates and integrates with the journey of business. On this Wednesday, June the 10th, we'll have another interactive webinar, an Awaken Conversation with guest Beatrice Bruno. You're going to love her. I love her dearly, and I encourage you to sign up for and come and join us live for that, or at least listen to the recording. And our next office hours will be on June the 15th. That's a week from today. I'm going to talk about the many risks of business: market risk, invention risk, execution risk, expansion risk, and other sorts of risks, so that you'll understand what the risks are with your business and you can make appropriate plans to mitigate those risks. I encourage you to let me know what topics that you might want me to address at paulssurvey.com, or you can send an email or give me a call or just type something into the chat box when you want, if you're listening live to this presentation, and let us know what you would like for us to talk about, because we want to support you in the ways that you want to be supported. So with that brief little message from our sponsors, let's go in and see if we have any other questions. Stephanie, do we have any other questions for today's live group coaching call?
Here's one. I'm always inventing with a mind that's constantly spinning. Can I be the CEO of my own company?
The answer is yes, and the answer is probably it's going to be hard too. So, I always talk about the 7 key performance areas of business. And in our Awaken CEO Foundations program, we go in depth into each one of those 7 key performance areas of business. And one of the most interesting things about that is that it's not just a skill set, it's also a mindset. So the skill set for financial management is different, of course, than the skill set for sales. But the mindset for financial management is different than the mindset of sales. And the same is true for inventors. I've met several inventors that their mind is always spinning. They're always visionary and creative, and they're on this project and they're on to the next project. Some of them, have shiny object syndrome, where the next great idea or the next shiny object that comes into their field of vision, gets all of their attention for some period of time. And that is the mindset of an inventor. That is the mindset of somebody that's always in creative mode. Can be a tremendous, tremendous mindset, but it's different than the mindset of a CEO, of the leader of your company. It's different than the mindset of a marketing professional. It's different than the mindset of a financial management professional, or a sales professional, or an operations professional, or a service and delivery professional. So you as a CEO may or may not, or you as the founder of your company rather, may or may not be able to embrace the mindsets and the skill sets that are necessary for you to be competent and excellent in all of those different areas of business. So first step I would say is learn what they are. Take the Awaken CEO Foundations program, listen to it, learn from it, understand what it means to be a great leader, understand what it means to be a great marketing professional, and the mindsets and the skill sets associated with each one of those key performance areas, and then do an analysis and ask yourself, or better yet, work with a coach or an advisor. And of course, we'd love to help you through this process of assessing your own gaps and your ability to perform well in those other areas of business. It could be that you need to have a very strong COO or even a strong president join you. You can still carry the title of CEO, but if you can't do the operational work, if you find that that's just not your genius and not your gift, that the gift of focus and the gift of discipline and diligence is just not one that you've been blessed with, then get somebody on your team who has that gift. And you may want to make them president too, because president, the difference in between having the presidential title and the COO title is your interaction with the outside world. So if you come across as being an inventor type to people who would be industry analysts or in potential investors in your business, you may need to have a very strong president of the company who can essentially carry that CEO or that leadership mindset. If you're reasonably strong in the ways that leaders need to be strong, then it may just be that you could have a COO instead of a president join you at that company. But it really depends on where you are and your own particular skill set and mindset when it comes to doing the work and getting the job done. So hopefully that was helpful to you. The bottom line, if I can sum that up, is some very great inventors can in fact be the CEO of their company. Some, they need to have a very strong president who actually runs the company, or a very strong COO who actually runs the company. And some of them are so much in this brainstorming and visionary mode that they really can't carry the title of CEO, and they can become the chief engineering officer or the chief technology officer or founder and chief inventor at the company, and let others who are more focused on the skill set and the mindsets of business be able to actually run the business and monetize the inventions that they create. Hopefully that was helpful to you. I've run across several people like this and had people openly ask me that same question: can I be the CEO of my company? And that's my response to them is maybe and maybe not. Maybe you need a strong person to your side, or maybe you're able to up your game a little bit and be a little bit more broader in your focus and learn to be that great CEO. Hopefully that was helpful. Next question, Stephanie.
Okay. I think I want to become a coach. How do I get started?
I get that a lot. The coaching profession is one that I don't think really existed much before about 15 years or so ago. Before I answer that question, I'm inspired to tell you that if you're on the call and live attendee, please raise your hand, type your question in the chat log. We'd like to have your question live, and you're certainly welcome to ask the question live. If you want, we'll take you off your mute and let that happen. So I forgot to say that after the other one before I asked Stephanie for the last question. But the question was, I want to be a coach. How do I get started? The coaching profession, I think, started 20 or 30 years ago, but I didn't really know about it at all until about 15 years ago when I started Hoyt Management Group in 2001. And then with the conversation was, what is a coach versus a consultant? And the profession itself was not very well defined at all, and people were just raising their hands and calling themselves a coach without appropriate training, and oftentimes without even knowing what the coaching industry is all about. So there's a hint. If you want to be a coach, the first thing to do is understand what it is, what the job or the business of being a coach is. If you haven't had a chance, I encourage you to listen to my presentation on the 5 choices of winning CEOs. Choice number 1 is to understand the business that you are in. In this particular case, it's understand what it means to be a successful coach. And as it turns out that if you want to be a coach, you're most likely, when the business is really going good, you may be able to coach other clients 40 or 50% of the time. Most likely, it's going to be 30 to 40% of the time when the work is going really well. And that means that you're working 60 hours a week and you're in session with clients 20 hours a week. You can have a strong business if you do that at 33% of the time. But you really have to know the business of coaching, and being a coach is only part of it. The other part of the business of coaching is product development, it's marketing, it's sales, it's financial management, it's doing the operations administrative work, it's doing all the other jobs at a business that are necessary in order for that business to really be a business. Many people are surprised by that. And the reason they're surprised is in their jobs in corporate America, when they're working for somebody else, I mean, that's just the job. They don't see the big picture that often. They may not even be close to the highest levels of the business to even realize that the business itself has all of these different jobs. Or they think that, coaching is a simple business, so I don't need to even know what marketing and sales are all about. And nothing could be further from the truth. Every business needs to focus on marketing and sales, I think, with equal professionalism and equal passion to actually delivering the value to their clients and customers. So rule number one is know what the business is. The way you do that is by talking to other coaches and find out what they're doing on a daily basis, what percentage of their time and money they're spending on marketing and sales, what percentage of the time that are they spending on actually in session with clients, etc., so that you understand the business. And by the way, choice number two of winning CEOs is equally important for you as a coach, and that is that we understand what our job is today. So 2 or 3 years from now, or 6 months from now, if you're blessed and you're in revenues and in production and you achieve financial stability, you may be able to be a coach 40% of the time, and if you're really lucky, 50% of the time. But that's not your job on day one, because on day one you have no clients at all. Your job on day one is to get your own self in order through taking coaching training and through engaging with other coaches to help make sure that you have the right mindset and methods in place. And your job is sales and marketing until you get your client. So it's not at all uncommon in the early days of your business that your job is 30% product development and 70% sales and marketing and 0% being a coach. Then when you land the first client, it's maybe 25% product development and 70% sales and marketing and 5% being a coach, being a great coach to your clients. The job shifts over time depending upon where you are in your business. If you're in startup mode or steady growth mode or rapid expansion mode or turnaround mode or exit mode, your job as a CEO changes with the stage of business and the size of business that you have. So one quick piece of advice when it comes to being a coach is to get a coach. To get not just one coach, but maybe 2 or 3 coaches, or have experience with 2 or 3 coaches, so that you understand how good coaches and how great coaches interact with their clients. You'll learn a lot about how you want to be a coach and how you want to integrate with them, what your onboarding process is, as a continuation from one of our first questions of today. How to do an onboarding process, how to begin the engagement with your clients, how to conduct sessions with your clients, and how to give your clients this feeling of tremendous value from their engagement with you. So hopefully that was helpful. If you're going to be a coach, listen to the 5 choices of winning CEOs. Make sure you understand what the business of being a coach is. Make sure that you have coaches on your team who can coach you so that you can be a better coach and learn by example. Hopefully that was helpful to you. Stephanie, do we have another question?
Yeah. How do I help more people? There's only so many hours in a day.
That's a great question, and maybe a great problem to have. Is that your ability to serve the clients is not as great as the number of clients who want to be served, that you've hit your capacity limits. And when we hit our capacity limits, there are various ways to leverage our talents and leverage our time and leverage our ability to serve others. One of the ways is by creating information products so that people can come in and buy your presence, so to speak, through consuming your information products. And I've certainly done that by having the office hours presentations and the foundations program and the other products that I put out there. It's my way of serving people without it really taking up any of my time. All they need to do is click on a link and they get to watch a presentation and gain value from that. So by recording who you are, your wisdom, your guidance for other people, and then making that available either for free or for a fee is a really good way to leverage your time. Second way, I would say, is through group activity. So you can do group coaching instead of one-on-one coaching. You can do an inner circle and have that inner circle be your way of engaging with people in a very close way, but you're engaging with people, 10 people at a time or 5 people at a time instead of one-on-one. You can do webinars, as I do, to engage with many people at the same time. You can do retreats and workshops and seminars, either virtual or face-to-face and live, to allow yourself to talk to larger and larger audiences and be able to share who you are and the value you can bring to other people, through stages, which can be very, very important. And another way, a third way, is we can train other people to do what it is that we do. We can be a role model for them so that they carry our energy as best they can through to other people with, and tailor it just a little bit based upon their unique gifts as well, that we can be a role model to our coaches, to our trained facilitators, our certified dealers of our systems, whatever those happen to be. And you can extend your presence through the world, to the world, through other people who are trained to do what we do. And there's lots of great examples of that as well. Byron Katie, who's one of my very favorite teachers, has systems whereby she teaches people to do the work and to facilitate the work as a process. Bill Steerley talked about in our Awaken Conversation from a couple of weeks ago, which was wonderful, by the way, talked about a process he uses called nonviolent communications. I talked to him just a few days ago, and he said that he went through a 9-day training course on that, where the founder of nonviolent communications, the 4-step process that he uses, not only shares the process open and freely with the world, but also trains other people to facilitate that process in a very professional and sophisticated way, in that particular case through a 9-day training program. So you can do that. If you want to leverage your time and your ability, I think those are the big 3 ways. Number 1 is to record who you are and what you do so people can listen to it, in whatever time frame fits them. Number 2 is group-related activity, group coaching, seminars, workshops, retreats, so you can speak to many people all at the same time. And number 3 is training people to do what you do so that they can carry your message and your energy to the world the best way that they can possibly do that. Stephanie, I got 12:55 today. I think we have one more time for one more question today. Do we have any?
No, I think that's it. I think we got them all.
Great. Well, I want to thank those of you who attended live for attending live. I love your questions. I love this opportunity to answer questions off the top of my head. And if you send me an email for the next live group coaching session, you'll even get a little better answer, I believe. I want to encourage you to join me on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific time for another Awaken Conversation with our special guest, Beatrice Bruno. And I want to encourage you to come back and join us again next week for office hours number 80, which will be on the risks of business. And until we meet again, this is Paul Hoyt wishing you a most marvelous and prosperous day. Bye-bye.